All right, welcome in everybody to another episode of the Underground Runaround podcast. I'm your host, Brad Ross. Back again with my co-host, Pav Daddy, who's on mute in front of beautiful Wrigley Field. My man, Keith Francillo. And we got a special guest with us this week, my man, Allen Turwell from Waxstat, Slab everything, stat.
Something.
Allen, how are you, sir? I'm really happy that you're here with us this evening. Thanks for joining us.
I am even more happier to be a part of the Underground Runaround. Thank you so much for inviting me to the show, Brad, Keith, and Pav Daddy.
Oh yeah, Pav Daddy. Look at him down there, just living in bliss.
We're glad to have you here, buddy.
So, dude, the biggest reason we even wanted to do the show, we are mostly baseball oriented on the podcast here, and then we do talk about a ton of hobby stuff. But like we ran into each other at the industry conference. I had already been following Waxstat on TikTok, I believe, and I saw your hat. I'm like, it's the Waxstat guy.
Oh, yeah.
So I went over, yes, I went over and introduced myself, and now we're BFFs. But more importantly than that, I want to talk about what it is and what you're doing with it, and if you don't mind sharing with my audience on what you have going on over there, because it's interesting to me. So I want to, I want to know.
Appreciate it. So let me give you guys a quick 50,000-foot overview of who I am.
Beautiful.
How I got here. So my name's Allen. You're my buddy. You're my friend. My pal. And you can call me Al or Big Al. I grew up in San Francisco, so I'm a big San Francisco Giants fan. My parents handed me really three things when I was in the 80s when I grew up. Handed me a box of 1986 Topps Wax. They handed me a computer, and they handed me a camera. And they said, all right, Al, figure it out. You got the rest of your life to figure all this stuff out. So those really have been three of my big passions in life, just collecting baseball cards, just collecting everything, technology, and taking pictures and capturing the moment. I took a selfie with Brad over in Phoenix last week, and I tend to take as many selfies as possible just because I like capturing the moments. But 80s, 90s, big baseball card collector because that was the thing to collect. In the 90s, I started collecting other things, started chasing girls and less cards and less cardboard. Had I chased the cardboard, I'd have a lot more Kobe rookies and Steve Nash rookies and all the other stuff. So bad decisions, sort of. Fast forward that, I started my whole career, went to school, Santa Clara University, got a degree in computers, and started my career in Silicon Valley. I was a programmer, just everything top to bottom. And I really, really, really enjoyed technology, especially during that time, because it was the wild, wild west. It really was. I mean, people were just like very friendly, very open, just sharing all the different technologies that they were hacking up. And so I progressed in my career, did a bunch of startups, great startups. Actually started my own company a few years ago, sold that a few years ago. And, just before the pandemic, I started to realize, hey, I want to get back into cars, right? And my friends introduced me they started getting me cars. One of my good college buddies said, hey, Al, take a look at what I'm doing, maybe it's something you're interested in. So he would show me all his cards, and I was like, oh, this is really cool stuff. Autos and redemptions and patches and ripping stuff open. And I was like, hey, are there any opportunities in the technical world where we can kind of just get ahead and kind of use our technical Silicon Valley backgrounds to figure this out? And he said, yeah, there's probably a bunch of things. So we just started throwing stuff up on the wall. And so this was around 2019, 2020-ish. We started throwing stuff around, and I had this crazy idea that said, hey, maybe no one else knows how to do this, but let's try to figure out statistical anomalies or statistical trends on cards. Little did I know back then that there were a lot of companies that were starting or in different stages of technology. And then I also realized that looking at cards and getting statistical stuff about cards is very, very difficult. So, and that's really where the term SlabStat came from. I realized very early on that that was a very difficult project to do. So fast forward this, I threw a few more things on the wall. I pivoted. The term in Silicon Valley is pivoting, trying to just change your direction, find out where the product market fit is. And I started creating a do-it-yourself card breaking software, which basically I targeted the customers that didn't want to use the big marketplace, big online streaming places, the people that sell stuff direct through Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, social media. And so I created a really cool software, do-it-yourself card breaking software that manages all that stuff and cross-sells all that stuff. The next thing I started was really Card Show Stat. I haven't really come up with, I guess the first one's Card Break Stat, and the second one would be Card Show Stat, where I helped a lot of the local promoters here in Las Vegas understand who their customers were. Like, what time were people coming in? How do we capture this customer's information so we can remarket for the next show? Because cost of customer acquisition for a card show is very expensive and it's very time consuming. So I successfully have a few partners running that. But with all that stuff that I threw on the wall, and I'll wrap it up here, nothing really was like a home run, right? I had a lot of users, a lot of good friends, right? And I realized, hey, maybe there's something else we can keep on throwing stuff up on the wall. So last year in Collective, a couple people surprisingly came up to me. One was a Piece of the Game, which is a great shop right outside of New York City. He said, hey, I'm having a problem. I wish I can price compare wax boxes and wax cases. I sit in front of my computer trying to find all this information. It's very time consuming. And then I got to do it over and over and over again every day in order to stay competitive. And then the light bulb went off. So fast forward a couple months later, I created the first version of what is known as Waxstat. Waxstat is the easiest way for you to price compare wax boxes, cases, any sealed product. I observe over 3,000 types of product, and I have, probably 12, 13, 14,000 different live pricing points. So I have the most comprehensive data set of sealed products probably on this planet right now, and I'm sharing it on waxstat.com.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, man, you gave us a lot. You gave us a lot there, and I appreciate that. The software itself. So like that's a free service to use, correct? Like you can just go to the website and like just whatever you want to do, just start looking up products, see what they're doing.
So, absolutely. So it's as simple as you think it is. It's it's a web app, because that's really all I know. Like there's a lot of different technologies out there.
Sure.
And I'm just good at web development. And it's not a bad trait to have. So it's a web app. You go to open up Chrome or Safari, www.waxstat.com, and you'll see all the information that you want to see today. For example, today is Wednesday, which is the traditional release day, and you'll see the entire release calendar of everything. And if you drill down into each one, you'll see all the average price, or you'll see all the live pricing, the trends, different charts and stuff like that. So you can see how the market moved. Now that's based off of multiple different factors. For example, I was watching how Football Prism first off the line yesterday came out, and how retailers pulled their prices off, waited to see how the Dutch auction happened, and then they put them back on. So it's kind of just interesting to see how the market moves when we don't really pay too much attention to it.
Yeah, first off the line is something I don't even try to play the game. I don't know how. I mean, the people that do, good for them. It's the whole Dutch auction thing I'm not interested in. I can run a business without it. It opens the door to so many things, like what you were saying, pulling prices off and putting them back on, and people, everybody has a good idea of what they want to do until products start moving or you panic a little bit, so it's something I don't know. I'm not comfortable doing it. It's not my Panini products in general just aren't my big demographic anyway, but but the Dutch auction is a wild format. I mean, some people love it, and I don't mean to say this in any negative way, but I think it benefits just the bigger players because they can play with more confidence in a Dutch auction setting, whereas a smaller business has to be more conservative with how they use their capital that they have available to them. But I think that's I can stay safe and stay away from it and still be okay. But it's a another avenue. That's why I love the hobby though. And again, I'm not saying any of this to be negative. I love the hobby for that reason. There is something different. There's a different way to do things. There's a different product. There's a different brand. There's something for everyone to get involved with. There's something for everyone to collect. There's a way for almost everyone to approach it from a business in terms of what you're creating, what I do, what other people do, what card shops do. I mean, there's so many things. I mean, it's great. It brings people together, and I mean that's how we linked up at the conference, and it's been fun ever since. I'm so glad I went to that conference. I was super nervous to go. I'd never been to anything like that. I didn't know how it was going to play out. And I wanted to know about stuff, though. So, like, when they did the presentations, I, like, sat all the way in the front. Yeah. A couple people were giving me shit for it. I'm like, sorry. Sorry, I didn't know that, like, I saw people with, like, laptops and stuff after the fact. I'm like, oh, these people are taking notes. Like, Ivan from Watch the Breaks on Twitter, he was, like, live tweeting, like, as it was happening. I'm like, oh, these dudes are professional reporters in here right now. Like, the media be damned, these guys are on it, like tweeting everything that's happening. I'm like, I'm just in here trying to remember everything that was said so that I can come back and talk about it later, because they said no cameras or any of that. So I'm like, guess we can take notes next time. So next time I'm taking notes. What was I guess let me ask you this then, what was your goal? Like, did you have a goal going into that event, into the industry conference, or were you just going to see what was going on?
So before I answer that,
sure,
what my goal was, just for the first off the line stuff, Panini introduced the Dutch auction, and love it or hate it, it's there, and yeah, and I know specifically they said at the Topps conference that the Dutch auction will go over to them, and even more so the blind Dutch auction. So you just have to submit a bid. Right. And you got to hope that your. I
think I like that better.
The blind.
I don't know. Yeah, I think I like that better than just watching that bar slowly go down and trying to pick your poison. Just take all the guesswork out of it. This is what I want to pay for this product. Here it is. And if I was generous enough with my offer, I got it. Hopefully, I wasn't too generous. But yeah, no, they did say that the Dutch auction's coming. What did they use that for? That was a Zero Cool thing, though, correct? That blind Dutch auction? That was for the V Friends, I think.
Oh, V Friends.
Oh,
it was V
yeah.
Friends. Yeah, it was V Friends. And that, I thought that was, first of all, gangster to do that stuff. No one's ever done that, as far as I know. And I talked with some of the Zero Cool guys, and I think I offered like $500, which I thought was a big enough number. And he said, you weren't even close.
Yeah, that's wild. I am not, again, I'm not here to knock them at all, but I was very curious to watch it unfold. Let's put it that way. And it unfolded. So I don't know. The format though, I love anytime they try anything different, because everybody complains that like for like just a standard product drop, even if it's just retail, like, oh, the bots got it all or whatever. Like that's like the Dutch auction or the blind auction or any sort of other format gives everyone a fair shake. So at that point, if you're still complaining or unhappy about what transpired after that, then it's more so on you than anything. And I would assume you, as much as everyone else on social media, you see so much negative stuff. Like it just seems like the loudest people are the most negative, and it's just, can we stop? Can we stop? At some point, we just got to enjoy some things that are going on here, because it seems like ever since I don't even know, even before the boom, there were negative people then. Like they're never going to go away. So
that's in every social group, whether it's In this case, it's cards. In another case, it's sneakers. In another case, it's something else. But you know, I'm not here to talk about any of that stuff. I want to talk about like the positive stuff,
Yeah, absolutely.
like what my goals were at this
Yes.
conference. So I think my goals are pretty simple, right? Like go in, have no plan, formulate a plan. Once I start seeing people, have a few drinks, and then formulate a plan. And see if I can get my admission ticket price back in the gift box. And if I meet a bunch of really, really cool people and become friends with them and maybe do business with them later, like that's a cherry on top. But it's really just to go have fun. I understand how somebody could be nervous to go to one of these. Like we were all, first time conference goers, and especially these big ones where you can't really just hide. I welcome Keith. I welcome Pav Daddy. I welcome you, Brad. Anytime you guys want to go to an industry type conference, you can roll with me. It's never a problem. But really, at the end of the day, the goal was just to meet more people, shake more hands, take more pictures, and some of these relationships that I've built, they just take a long time.
Sure.
A really, really long time.
100%.
And you just gotta I believe just keep on going out, showing your face. If you have a goal, being an entrepreneur, a shop owner, a card breaker, any way you want to disrupt the hobby or the industry, and go to these industry conferences. I think they're really, really, really important to meet the right people in one place.
Yeah, and more so than that, like, we're maybe not more so than that, but just like the information they gave us, or like that was presented to us, you're not getting that anywhere else. Like when you see like Tops or Fanatics post on social media, and I said this last week in the show, like they're selling you something or they're trying to sell you something. They're not opening up dialogue with you like they were there. That's a very cool part of that experience. And for me, just to piggyback off the question I asked you, I had no idea what to expect. I wanted to go to the summit last fall, and I honestly just forgot. I had to have been too busy with whatever was going on. But I had no goal. I just wanted to leave there with something useful that I could apply. I didn't know how I was going to do that. I had no idea how I was going to do it. But I said, if I'm going to leave, along with what you said, recoup the money from the gift box if possible. I haven't got that far. They're still sitting right there. I still have the shades. They were actually good luck break shades until today. I started a case and said I was going to pull a superfractor with the shades on. It didn't happen. So I cursed myself. But we had been going wild this past week, pulling all sorts of rare stuff. But I get there. I know I want to. I know what I want when I leave. I don't know what I want to do when I'm there. I knew that before the conference started, I wanted to go to a spring training game, so we did that. We went to the Angels White Sox game before the welcome event. But the goal was, I want to leave here with something useful that I can apply to what I do, not necessarily to make more money, but just to be better at what I do in some way, shape, or form. I didn't know how I was going to do that. By the time I left, I couldn't stop thinking of new things I could try or tinker around with or implement just from talking to people. And I'm not the most social person on planet Earth. Like, as weird as that seems, being a guy who lives on camera, it's I have real crazy social anxiety. But I have no problem like shaking hands and saying hello. It's more so like, what if this guy acts unfavorably to me? Or like, what if the guy does something disrespectful? Like, you're there with some like really big people. What if you go up and introduce yourself to this guy who does 50 times what you do, and you say, "Hey, I'm Brad. It's nice to meet you," and they like blow you off? Like what happens when that? Like, how do you handle that? Like, that's my biggest like worry. So now that I've gone and I've done the event, I've made it a point to everyone I've crossed, eye contact with. Like, you get all these weird looks, you know. People are everybody wants to know, like, oh, who's that? Who's that? I'm just gonna put all that to bed. At the next one, I'm just gonna be shaking everybody's hand. If you look at me, if you make eye contact with me, just know that I'm shaking your hand and I'm Brad Ross, and we're gonna be friends after that. Because there's nothing more that I dislike than that awkward. Like, is that person looking at me? Am I looking at them? Do they think I'm looking at them? Are they looking at me? Like, we're all here to talk about the hobby. Like, let's just go and talk about the hobby and get this over with, you know? So,
I mean, first it's when they wave, and you wave back, and in the reality, they're waving at their homie that's behind you.
Yeah. That's always bad, too. That happened to me at the gym today. When I walked in the gym, there was the dude come out and started talking. He was not talking to me, but I had my music playing already. I paused my music to start talking to him, and it was somebody who walked in right behind me. Like, oh, that was embarrassing. Keep on going now.
Keep on going, right? I agree with you, right? There's always, I mean, there's a hierarchy. There isn't. There is, right?
Sure. Yeah. That was I spoke to like a bigger person there, and I'm not gonna name names, but so and so, like, a person walked past that I needed to talk to, that like I had actually had emails with, and was supposed to have a Zoom meeting. I ended up having it with he put me on to someone else because he was out of the office, one of those things. But that person crossed my path, and a big dude's like, hey, you should go say hi to that person. I'm like, oh, thank you. Because I didn't know that that's who that was, you know. So that was, those are the benefits of those types of things. If, like you said, if you're trying to meet people or whatever in the hobby, it was a great event. The event itself was great. Everything else was the cherry on the top. Like, the event in and of itself, I would go just for that alone. Like, if Tops was just like, hey, we're throwing a party every month, I'll be there.
Yeah. So I think this is one of the hobby's biggest secrets that a lot of people know about, but just don't have either the guts or just want to make the effort to go. Because what did we pay, like maybe $500?
It was 400. So I think it was 400 if you bought your ticket before a certain time. After that, I believe it was 450, and then your account, your room, and your travel. But outside of that, Tops paid for everything. Food. How many times did they feed us? It's ridiculous.
I ate $600 worth of food. You know.
Yeah, dude, it is wild. Yeah, the alcohol. I forgot about that. Yeah.
They gave me a full box of cards and $200 Oakleys, right?
Right.
And
it should sell out. It's wild that this event is not, like, they should have filled Chase Field with humans. Like, why are there? And that's the thing, like you said, it could be a guts thing. Like, don't be afraid. It is. It was great. I can't wait for the next one.
Well, next big one is Mint Collective, which
right.
Then you get a $500 free ticket to Mint Collective.
Yeah.
Which it's BOGO. Buy one, get one free.
Yeah, no doubt. I believe did you get yours? I think they sent those out yesterday. I think I got my email yesterday.
It immediately.
Yeah, I still need to do that. Right.
Well, they said that name, and then I can claim your gift box, mail it out to you. No, don't.
Ooh. that'd be terrific. Terrific. But yeah, I think I'm going out to that. I'm not 100%, but I think that's happening. Again, just to piggyback off of that, if I can go there and talk to smart people, who knows what I'm going to learn. Like the Topgolf event. I sat down at Topgolf with one guy I had met. Shout out to Mitch's Box Breaks. Mitch Reed, I believe is his name. Shout out to Mitch. I met him there. I didn't know him. I think he's not too far from me. I think maybe Wisconsin. Sorry, he's up there in Wisconsin. Super nice dude. Then I met some card shop guy from Florida who I swore was from across the pond. I let him talk all night before I asked him. Jonathan was his name. Shout out to Jonathan from somewhere in Florida. I don't remember. But we're sitting there playing top golf, and I've never golfed. Playing top golf with all these, I just sat down with a random group of people, and we were having a good old time. So I mean, it's just another thing. Like, you can sit down with almost any group of like card people and have a good time, or like hobby people. Like there's no egos. There was nobody talking about what they were doing or what they weren't doing. Like, Everybody's just like having a good time. Some people ask me questions about how I operate as a breaker. I was asking them how they operate as card shops, like talking about like how do you do this with employee, like how do you employ people, how do I employ, like just talking about things that there is literally no handbook on earth for as far as the hobby goes and running a business. It's such a small thing on the grand scheme of things. Not everybody, like, it's all trial and error almost if you don't have other people to talk to that have done the things you're aspiring to do. Like, without them or like without and they all seem willing. I will say that too. Like, tons of strangers, perfectly comfortable sharing information. Like, I asked a guy, like, how much do you pay for your store? Like, did you buy it? Did you lease it? How, like, I asked everybody from like every different area just to get like random general geographical location numbers in my head. Just anything I could think to ask. People were very responsive. And the same thing coming back at me. Anybody who wanted to talk or collaborate or ask me questions, not that I'm someone to ask, not that I'm anyone, but if anyone wanted to ask, I was glad to help if I could.
I agree with that. I feel like, and maybe it's just the entrepreneurial spirit with everybody, because we are all on our own separate journeys, right? Like, as much as, we'd like to, people still compare to each other, but the reality is there is no instruction manual for card breaks in Indianapolis or the Midwest region, or card breaks or local card shops in Florida or Las Vegas, right? Each place has their own set of customers and challenges, and what somebody may have learned that works for them could possibly help other person. And it's not like you're taking food off their plate, right? So I'm always a big fan of sharing secrets, unless you're specifically trying to compete against me, which is very still, there's a whole different issues, but people want to, I like the industry conferences because you paid your $400-500 to get past that velvet rope, and you're all in the same club of people that just want to get to the top. And if we can all work together sharing information, it seems to be a no-brainer to do it, right? Like why not? Like, let's like, Tops wants 10x. Guess where 1, 2, 3x has to start off? It has to start off with just us, just trying to push it forward, or having the want to push it forward is where how the 10x starts.
Yeah, I left just from what they were saying, and whether you can believe everything or not. And I told these guys last week, they said some things, maybe poking at me after the show, and I'm like, listen, whatever was said, I really believed them. So if, like they have no reason not to tell us the truth. We have no reason not to believe them. And the proof of what they say they're doing is already in the pudding with some of just like the buyback program. How many millions of dollars did they just give away to start that program, and then they're going to continue it? Like, that's a terrific thing. And like I said, I'm not even a participant in the program because I don't have a shop, and it still benefits me as a breaker because I can balance out team pricing better, because the Yankees and the Cardinals for Chrome products have now a base card that's worth $20, and no other team has that. So it's a great benefit across the board just on things they're doing. So for everything people want to say that they're doing wrong, they're doing things right that actually help the whole landscape, like, with whether you realize it or not. So there's and then it's like, well, you're just defending them because you're the business entity, then you get that counter argument, and it's like, no, man, just really open your mind up to what they're doing. Yeah, there's things they do that aren't great. Maybe, arguably, really. I love everything that's happening. The innovation stuff is next level. I am super, super excited. Like, I left that conference just pumped up. absolutely pumped up. And I have like, and I said this last week too. I am in no way, shape, or form affiliated with and or buy direct from Tops. So it's not like I'm a guy that it's in my best interest to tell you that I love everything they're doing. Like, no, I just genuinely enjoy what they say they're doing and what they've already shown they've done. So I couldn't be more excited about it. They want to grow this thing. If you want to be a part of the hobby, there's going to be plenty of room for everybody to be a part of the hobby. Like, to go back to the presentations, shout out to the Underdog Collectibles guy. He gave that great presentation on NIL stuff. He has a shop outside of Knoxville, or in Knoxville rather, University of Tennessee. You guys know that. He brings in college athletes on the NIL, and he gave a whole presentation on how to go about approaching the athletes to get them in your store or to get some type of thing going on. And the biggest thing he said was to reach out to them directly. And you guys know from being on this podcast, I could not agree more. I wanted to stand up in the middle of that thing and give the dude a round of applause, because he was telling people something they absolutely need to know. I've said it from the day I started. You have to not be afraid to get told no, turned down, left on red, whatever it is. I mean, be respectful about it. You know what I mean? But we've had professional baseball players on this show. We've had UFC fighters on this podcast. We haven't had to spend a cent to do it. And it's just because we're generally interested in who they are and what they do. And if they had a message or something they wanted to use a platform to hang out with and talk with us about, we offered it to them and they accepted it. So the power of social media is incredible. None of that made us any money, but those were some of the coolest things I've gotten to do. You know, like, those are experiences. Like you said, you take a lot of selfies. Like, I like to be able to talk to athletes. I was a respectable athlete, and I got in a car accident, and that was the end of that. So to be able to stay a part of the game is really cool. In however you can do it, from cardboard cutouts to being able to talk to big league pitchers. You know, I mean, it's literally living a dream, and none of it is predicated on money. You know, you have to make money to make things move, but obviously I'd be lying if I said I didn't want to be at the top. But there are some really cool things you can do along the way, and you just gotta not be afraid to do them or to try. Like, if you don't try, it's never gonna work.
100%.
Pav and I talked about starting the show for a year, 2 years before we actually did it. And it got to the point where, like, I reached out, and I'm not afraid to say this, I reached out to, like, the sports card nonsense dude, just with some questions. I reached out to, like, anybody I knew in the space that was doing a podcast. And those types of interactions would lead me to have the anxiety about going to a show like that. You know, just the... You know, I don't know. I don't know how that sounds, but I said it. It wasn't helpful. So we had to learn it all on our own, and we did, and it's fun. We're not, like I said, we're not looking for anything out of this other than this is a show we like to do. If we can educate anybody on anything, or if we can help you out, or if we just want to get on here and complain about something, you know, that's not this episode. But like when baseball was locked out, we were doing a lot of complaining. Like I said, we're huge baseball guys, but the Underdog Collectibles guy to bring my Runaround. This is why this is called the Underground Runaround Podcast now. To bring this back full circle, is that dude gave a fantastic presentation on telling people to just do it. I mean, he literally gave a whole presentation just to tell you Nike's catchphrase. Like, just do it.
So let me tell you a funny story. So Scott Daniels and Matt run the Underground Collectibles in Knoxville. And they were the first people that I met at the 2021 Beckett Industry Summit. Right? I just met them at the bar. And we've never done business together, but we've built this relationship as friends. And now for the first time, I'll text him every once in a while just to see how he's doing. And I showed, he goes, "What have you been working on, Al?" And I showed him Waxstat and how you can go online and I have a scanner and he can scan his boxes, and he texts me a couple days after the conference. He's like, we use this stuff every single day. How can we help grow this? So now a relationship that's 2 years in the making is really, it's finally starting to, I guess, brew here. And at the end of the day, we're still friends, right?
Right.
There's a couple points, right? Like I truly feel that we're in such a great place because the hobby, it's proven, established. If there's no new innovation that happens, the hobby will still continue. Paper, pencil, whatever, right? It'll just always continue. Now, maybe we're in the second or third inning of innovation, but there's just so much more to go. And I'm really excited to see where we're going with all this. I'm very bullish on, at least from the technical aspect. I may not be bullish on specific players' cards, but from the technical aspect, I am. I feel like we haven't scratched the surface of all this stuff. So when Scott and Underdog Collectible says, "Hey, just do it," right? I truly believe an aspiring entrepreneur out there really needs to just do it, because 99.999% of the time your idea is wrong. But the fact that you try and you fail, like you either win or you learn, right?
Right.
And
I was gonna say, how much experience do you get from a failure?
yeah, if you're not failing, you're not trying. So keep on trying. And if I gave up after my first attempt, like, geez, like I would be out of. I mean, I'd be out of the industry, but man, I would have just all the fruits of my labor that I'm starting to see. Maybe, it wouldn't have come unless I failed and tried and tried and tried. Like, going to these conferences, they're gutsy. Like, you got the big boys and big girls out there, the people that make 6, 7, 8 figures, 9 figures maybe a year, and you're in the same room with them, and it is intimidating. It isn't, but they're regular people. They're entrepreneurs. They put pants on one leg at a time, right? And their lives aren't as easy as we think they are, right? They just have a different set of headaches, right? Completely different set of headaches, but they're trying and they're failing every day. I forgot where I was going to go with this, but yeah, I mean, you were talking about your going after athletes. Like, don't get me wrong. I geek out. I mean, I'm in Las Vegas.
Right.
I see UFC athletes at Target, right?
Oh, sure. Right.
I go to the airport and I'm just like, oh, that's so-and-so over there. Or I see that's Embedded over there. They're filming the episode. I'll just casually walk by and try to get in onto the Embedded, video. Don't get me wrong. I geek out too, right? I mean, how cool is it that we're in this industry where we get to follow our favorite athlete and maybe they'll actually follow us back at some point if we have redemptions that Pops is promising.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just
the follow back cards coming in Big League Baseball in Series 2. That's what I heard, folks. Unofficially
right?
on the yeah, they're coming though. Yeah,
they're coming. I mean, I would love to have. Like, I don't know what that's gonna happen. Like, will Mike Trout mute me? Or is he contractually obligated to follow me for a specific amount of time?
6 months.
Right? I don't know. Right? Does he follow
After
me
6 months, one unwanted tweet, you're done.
Yeah. Because I'm gonna be sliding into his DMs, just pitching him stuff left and right. Right? You have direct access to the guy.
Oh man.
Yeah.
You know what? That's interesting because I could really see some of those silly follow back cards going for big money for exactly that reason. For exactly that reason. And when they were talking about, they were giving the presentation and explaining about what kid wouldn't love to get an Acuna card or Mike Trout, and I'm just sitting there thinking, bless your heart. because I already know what's going to happen on the open market with those things. They're going to go bananas, and people are going to try and. I'm not saying many people, and I don't think you should, but I guarantee you at least one person is going to make that a weird thing.
Oh
For
yeah.
better or worse. And I mean, I'm sure the athletes are aware of that. I'm sure Fanatics is aware of that. But I'm sure someone's gonna. It's hopefully no one ruins it. Let's put it that way. I don't want to see that ruined because I think that's a really, really cool feature. The way Fanatics is leveraging athletes to get them closer to trading cards is just awesome. Who doesn't want that?
I think it's so cool that the athletes want to go onto vlogs and podcasts because, like, I mean, I grew up, like, I was a big Will Clark fan, Kevin Mitchell fan, Giants stuff, and my dogs are going crazy. But there was no way for us to reach out to them, right? We couldn't.
Right.
I couldn't call them. I couldn't be like, hey, Will Clark, what do you know, what's your thoughts on this? Or, hey, you know, stuff like that. And at least you have that platform, and I just think it's super cool that they're willing to engage, right? And you know, what a time to be alive right now, right? What a time to be alive.
Yeah, man. I remember dial-up internet, so I mean, I'm sure you really remember dial-up internet. No offense, but like just in 32 years, I've seen quite a bit of change. Like my kids don't even understand what commercials are for the most part. Like they get upset when they, you know, when an ad pops up on something they're watching. I'm like, listen, you got to pick what you wanted to watch anyway. I'm like, we had to watch whatever was available.
Money here.
Yeah, right, and hold it. I had to hold them most of the time because they wouldn't work, didn't work right, or like the network was too far away. We lived out in the middle of nowhere, just trying to get the channel to come in. Oh man, that's funny. Al, with Waxstat, man, what's the big picture? What do you hope for it? What do you think? What do you think it could be? What do you think it can do? I mean, you started it because you believe in it. Where do you see it going?
You know what? So, I told you before I'm a photographer. I do. You can see one of the pictures back there. I was fortunate to be able to photograph NASCAR last weekend here in Vegas, and so as putting my artist hat on, I really appreciate the art of the front side, from the design to the selection of the picture of the player. Like, are they looking at the camera? Are they swinging a bat? Or are they, you know, running in for a touchdown? All that stuff. Like there's these little details that I really appreciate it. My mathematical side, the other side of the brain, really appreciates the backside of the card, the numbers, the at bats, the how many innings pitched and strikeouts to 9 and WAR. Like that's what gets me excited to just look at numbers and all that stuff. So you know, I'm very passionate about the hobby just because it fits just two different things that I really enjoy, and I'm throwing in the technical side because that's just my other passion, right? So I call it my North Star, call it my goal, right? Like, I think I'm at a stage in life where I want to follow my passions and I want to make a dent here, right? You know, I think I have enough experience in life and in a career and, you know, my passions that I have all the tools to make something happen here. You know, I'm at a stage where Waxstat is growing. It's the only wax sealed box price comparison tool out there. There's a lot of technical stuff out for single cards, and many of them are very, very fantastic, and many of them save you time and make you a lot more money, right? So from the value proposition side, I really want to do that. I want to save you a lot of time, and save you a lot of money, right? That's the straight value proposition. Now,
sure,
I think the question would be like, where do you think, you know, how are you going to monetize? Are you going to get rich doing this stuff, right? Like,
yeah, I guess that is the question. How do you like start to see some sort of fruit from your labor on this project?
So it's definitely, you know, I'm not going to lie to you. I would of course love to be able to to make a lot of money on this, right?
Of course, absolutely.
As a reward for providing a service that saves
Right.
people time and makes a lot of money, right? Like, full disclosure, I have there's an affiliate link on eBay, so I have eBay prices. I have right now 14 or so vendors that I observe, and eBay is one of them. So, for example, Top Series 1, you can search on it, and you'll see the eBay link there. So I'll get a few percentage points for every sale. That surprisingly has been enough to cover a lot of my fixed costs per month.
That's amazing, though. Honestly, that's awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome.
That's we leverage. I make revenue from Facebook just because they invited me into their bonus program, not because my business has enough followers, or they just said they like the content that I make. I got an email one day, said sign up. I signed up for the bonus program, and now between that and YouTube, we make enough money from that to cover the cost of doing the podcast. So,
and
I got a question for you. So like I signed up for Waxstat while we're sitting here. And,
nice. Nice.
I noticed that there is an option for breaks when you go into your profile. So is this something that you're gonna try to give breakers a little bit of like, audience through your Waxstat website? Is that kind of an end goal?
Yes and no. So this, like, I explained in my 50,000 foot overview earlier that I was throwing a bunch of stuff on the wall. One of my first projects that I did was I call it the DIY card breaking software. Those that are selling their card breaks direct customers, Facebook groups, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, right? Now they have the audience, or they built up their audience. They don't have the tools that these large marketplaces or these large live marketplaces offer, right? So I wanted to provide, or I am providing these tools, like to be able for you to do your own card breaks. So consider a very glorified and crazy powerful Excel spreadsheet or Google Doc spreadsheet on steroids. Hey there. And so if you go to slapstat.com, you'll see how basically everything works on the card breaking side. So now the reason you see it after signing up on Waxstat is because it's really one gigantic server that hosts all these different apps on here. And some of the stuff kind of just overlaps each other. So if you pick and prod around, you'll start seeing stuff that may not make sense. But I think if you go in the upper corner, right-hand corner, you can hit create a break, or somewhere in your menu. I can remember off the top of my head, but if you create a break,
my profile section is where I found it.
Yeah, it'll walk you through a process of being able to create a test break, and go ahead and try it while we're talking here, and you can see how I had a lot of my card breakers, the do-it-yourselfers. I attacked that long tail of people that couldn't get onto Whatnot or the other live streaming softwares. And they wanted to save the cash and save the money and save the fees and do it all themselves. Good question.
So one more follow-up here.
Sure.
Anya. So, well, it's not so much a follow-up, but I'm going to ask you something else. The product that you have on there, how is it decided which boxes are listed, and how far back do you eventually want to go?
I have almost all the current stuff in the last few years. Right now, I have so hobby boxes and cases are the ones that I'm 100% accurate, right? And I'm going back a few years, right? Retail stuff is kind of this weird thing because you have your Target exclusive, Walmart exclusive, Fanatics exclusive, you have your Asia exclusive, you have your European exclusive. So there's all these different SKUs. So if you go to the homepage, you'll see a number up there, and that just fluctuates constantly based off of my little robots that go out there. And I have over 3,000 products. I don't have everything, but I think from about 18, 19 on up, I have a very good grasp of it. I'm still adding a ton every day automatically as my robots go out.
I don't mean to cut you off, but do you mind if we share some visuals on the screen?
Absolutely. Go ahead and share. I would love to. I didn't want to.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I have you here for a reason. There's no reason not to show the people what you're doing. I think, like I said, I wanted you here. I think it's awesome. I would like to.
I've been browsing it the whole time.
I would like to show, yeah. And I told these guys earlier, after we got done texting earlier in the week, I told these guys, I said, look, Big Al from Waxstat's coming, get read up, bring something to the table. I said, have a good day. I closed the chat. I got back on the treadmill. Just told them what we're doing. But yeah, this is so for those of you watching with us live or watching later on Facebook and YouTube, audio people, we're at 50 minutes on the visual platforms if you want to jump over and take a look. But this is Waxstat in a nutshell. So this is the big overview here. You can pick particular products. Oh, sorry. The way I shared the screen is not... Okay, sorry. I shared a tab, not the whole thing. So, for example, you can just, like, Series 1 was super hot. You see these smaller graphs over here to the right, up and down trends, all of that. We love it. So, like, jumbos are big for us in the braking community. And here you go. You click on it. You got the average wax price here for a jumbo box at $236.08. You can share that if you want. You can click here to get notified if the prices are changing. He's got all the different an assortment of retailers. I mean, that's more retailers than you're going to get on the front page of Google. I mean, people that do what I do, they're going to understand this. Today I got a text before my kids were even off to school. Hey, we have 2020 Bowman baseball available. It's this much money. Okay, I'm going to be honest with everybody. I do not know the current day price of every single wax product released in the last 5 years, and that's why this is a fantastic tool. So the first thing I did was run downstairs and jumped on DealerNet, which is something that is like a paid service. You have to pay for. I think before you used to be able to at least look at it for free. I think now it's fully paid. I think you have to pay to even look at anything. But that was the first thing I did was, okay, well, is there any available? Is there any trading, etc.? You could come over here and look, like for the jumbos. If someone texted me this morning and said, hey, Brad, we have Jumbo Series 1 available for 2023, you can come over here and look. And almost without even knowing what the price is, it's a good buy. For the simple fact that, look, you can come over here, Al's website, 4 different retailers, all premier retailers that are almost household names. Anybody in the hobby should recognize these names on the screen. I shouldn't have to explain who Midwest Cards or Steel City or Diamond Cards are, any of these guys. And I don't know these individuals, but I recognize the brands and the names. But you're seeing that 4 of them are out of stock on a product that came out and is absolutely on fire. If this were to become available, hey, Brad, we can get jumbos. Jump over here, see what it's looking like. Okay, we're at 230, 250. If we can get it somewhere below that, it's a great buy. We could sell it. We can make some money, and it saved us a ton of time because now I don't have to go jump on DealerNet. I don't have to see if it's available. So sometimes I look at DealerNet just to see scarcity, not necessarily the price, because the price doesn't mean that it's selling or being traded or bought or sold, just to see if there's even any available. And then from that, I go check out all the retailers. You can go look at all the single card comp places, like 130 Point, eBay, Terapeak, wherever you can go. But you have to go to 5 different places before you can make an educated decision. And again, that gets back to where I think this could be a super beneficial tool for big people too. But the tools like this, I think they benefit small people more.
They do.
Because it helps you make a better decision with your money. And I'm not saying that the wealthier people in the hobby are reckless with their money, because obviously they're doing something right. 100% they're doing something right. But the small people that are learning, that aren't in that, they haven't been doing it 5, 10, 15 years, they don't have that experience of failure. You might save yourself a failure or two using something like this. I mean, it's terrific, and it's not just baseball. You can go to cases. Look, if you just want to look up cases, Upper Deck Hockey,
Allure, that's a good product.
Donruss Basketball, which is a new release today, and look, we click on that, case prices. Sorry, I meant to show on the last one. They have the price charts. He has charts, and you can search them out by 7 days, a month, 3 months. Over time, you can actually look at this data. and make really good decisions. So just if you're looking at this, since pre-sale early February, a month ago now, even Don Russ basketball is on the climb from most retailers.
Go click on price history by retailer, which is right underneath.
Yes.
There. Open that, click that little caret down, that little arrow down. Just right, yeah, click that. Is it clicking? And then average price history.
Yeah,
This
we're
is
here.
what I look at all the time. There we go.
Beautiful.
I mean,
is this the average of all the retailers?
Yeah, so at any given moment, I will average all the available retailers and then plug in a price, so you can just see as everyone starts to follow the leader type of game here, and
No, 100%. That is exactly it. So just to get back to baseball, I actually had that up on the other tab. I wanted to show that for the Series 1 because I think that's the most relatable to my people. I lost it, of course. Baseball. Al, where's it at, Al? Why are you hiding? Why are you hiding it from me?
I mean, that came out 2 weeks ago, so hit previous. There it is, right, Series 1.
Yeah. Jumbo box. Okay, so the jumbo box. So yeah, then we can go to the price charts. Like you said, average price history. And just in the last 7 days, you can see what the average price has done. Maybe it's peaked and it's starting to come down a little bit. I don't think so. But if we take it out a month, look at that. I mean, Series 1 is, by all accounts, a booming success in the jumbo. The jumbo format.
On the day it released was the February 15th. So that had the largest spike velocity there.
So I could almost attest to that. It would have been that Thursday night into Friday morning is when the cases jumped. So I don't know if that correlates with your timeline. What is the 15th? Sorry, you gotta go back. February 15th was that Wednesday. So yeah, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Yeah, those 3 days straight up. So you went from 182 average box price to almost $210 in a span of 36 hours or so. It really did happen like that too. Once the scoop got out about retail odds being less, jumbo odds being better, even better so than hobby, which hobby has a few exclusives like the acetate rookies the acetate cards period numbered to 10 and things like that sometimes drive people to the hobby format. It was all jumbo for Series 1, and I mean, without knowing anything that I know, you can look at this graph and that'll tell you the same thing. This was clearly a booming, just a big product. So actually, now that we're doing this, I'm real curious. Do you have Prism Football? Did I just pass that?
Yeah, April.
Yeah, 15th. Prism Football Hobby Box. Here we go. This is next week. This is next week. Yeah. If you want to get a look at next week, boom, we got the price charts in the last 7 days. We're just going to average them all out. Look, we bottomed out here for a little bit, but this is all within a $6 of each other. So don't let the graph fool you. You do have to read the graph, everyone at home, because I was about to panic. And then you look at the left-hand side here, and this whole chart is only $7 of difference. So nobody panic. But even the pre-sale, you stretch out a month, it was way high just a month ago. And here we are settled in. And I honestly think the price point it's at compared to previous years of Prism Football is accurate. It's less than last year's, and that speaks to the class. It's still Prism. The checklist came out. I think Brock Purdy's in it. So is there anything else you would like to show off with your fancy toy here, sir?
Yeah, so the notify of any price changes, that I just released that last week for last Friday or so. So that's been getting a lot of information. I don't require anybody to sign up because I think registration is just dumb. So you still have to give your email address in there, but I don't require a password or any of that stuff. So I can. And then the coolest tool, and it's probably better if you do it on an iPhone or an Android, but if you see in that bottom right-hand corner, you'll see a little UPC code there.
You can scan it?
So the story behind this was that I'm at my LCS here in Vegas, and I'm pushing Waxstat to my buddy, and he's like, "Oh, this is great." And then I see him do inventory, and he's not using it, and he's going on blowout or on the websites, right? And I'm just trying to price his stuff. And I'm just scratching my head. I'm just like, I got all this information for you. he just doesn't want to do it because it's just not the normal way to do it. He'll Google it or he'll go on the major retailers. Makes sense. So after watching him for a couple months, I said, you know what? I'm just going to build a UPC scanner. So this tool actually is for card breakers, those with tremendous stock or with LCS that needs to look at their wall of wax so that they're very competitive in their pricing, and they're either not too high or, in worse, they're too low. And so definitely take a look at the UPCs. I mean, you can do it on your computer. It's not as intuitive there. You have to okay the camera.
Yeah,
if you
it won't let me. It won't let
it's
me.
really meant for the phone, or
Right.
If you give it the permission on your laptop or your computer, but that's really just to save time.
Look, you know what? Talk for a minute. I wanna do it. I have another camera. I think we'll be able to make it work. So guys, talk for a minute. I'm gonna grab a box. I'll be right
Is there
back.
plans for a phone app?
Sure, right. I need to have a little more. I don't want to build an app, first of all, because it's very expensive right now.
Right.
That's not my forte, so I would need some help for that. But at some point, when all my customers, what do you have there, Zenith? The Zenith. Once I get to a point where there's critical mass and I have to make that hard decision, it probably won't be that hard. I'll make the investment and make an app, right? And I think I'll know at some point when that'll happen. Right? Oh, look at that.
That's my overhead camera. Don't you guys worry about that. This is always the problem I have.
You may need some
barcode scanner.
Yeah. Hang on a second.
Barcode scanner in app form is going to be a really big feature.
I agree.
LCS people, because I would go to our local card shop out here, and there was a lot of times I'd go there and there'd be a case, even for like a customer, right? A customer walks in and they're holding their phone, and they could just go in and there's cases on the wall, boxes on the wall. You scan the UPC, you know exactly, and so you can negotiate with your LCS owner right there and say, hey, look, this is the real average prices right now. We both can see it, and it's going to help the LCS guys, because I went in where he had a case of when Cody Bellinger won the MVP, the year he was having a really big year, 2017 update, right? Cases were stupid cheap, and it was before he actually finished with the MVP. But I actually went in and told the LCS, I started asking.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Oh,
wow.
Live. Al didn't even know we were doing that. Look at that.
Yeah, I like it. I think that's going to be a huge feature.
I didn't even know we were doing this tonight, but this is why I wanted Al on, because I wanted to talk about what he's got going on. And look at this. We're doing a live demo, and it works. I switch a couple cameras around in my settings. We pull it up, bang, right on the screen. Everything we need to know about Bowman Inception baseball.
That's going to be a big feature.
That's wild.
We don't need Phoenix. We don't need an app. It works on every phone.
Bang! Right? Phoenix football.
Pull up your
phone.
But
you know how people are lazy, and they love apps.
I don't even know where my phone is, Al. That's my problem. I never have my phone down here. I'm like the anti-technology guy.
Oh, you're fine. You see, it works here, so there's no smoke and mirrors here.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. This is cool. No, I just want to play with it.
Bab, I agree. that we need to have. Oh, that's cool.
Long-term goals. I understood. Yes. You can pull it up on the browser on your phone, and it'll work. I think it's a huge feature. I think that's going to be a huge selling point for you.
Yeah, and I'll get there. I just, it's
I like it.
Now I want to stump this thing.
I think it's.
I mean, you try hard enough, you'll stump it.
I'm going to.
Look
at that. It's got the man has garbage pail kids on his it's all. Listen, if you're doing modern wax, get on Waxstat. What are we doing here? This is terrific. What is this?
Is there a way for users to recommend a product?
I would have to look it up and tell you. I'll find out though.
your question is what are there? Yes, you can send me an email. I don't have an easy form, and I know I'm leaving some stuff on the table because I know I don't have everything. Right? You're gonna stump it at some point. But
Sure.
my goal is to make sure. So far, we're what 4 for 4. I'm that's,
Yeah, all three major sports and Garbage Pail Kids.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
passed the test with
Yeah.
flying colors.
once you start getting into the older stuff, then it's gonna be a little dicey. But
It's old stuff though.
it's older stuff, right?
I live in today, friend.
And
Sorry,
that's
old
who
people. No offense.
Yeah, I was digging through like because obviously I jumped straight to like looking for 2011 Tops update stuff like that, and
Go up to
seeing those kind
Brad.
of numbers.
Go up
Obviously,
to
that's going to be a lot less.
Hang on 1 second. I'm still trying to find my trying to find out how much I paid for this box of Garbage Pail Kids. 2021 though. It's older. Well, I'm like in my Tops account right now. I'm not on the thing that's on the screen. I apologize. 20.
Yeah,
this is
in
20. I don't know if I'm ever gonna find this. Anyway, we'll get back to here. What do you want me to do, Al? What are we doing now?
Go to browse by sport there. Up
Yeah.
top. So I have everything here. So click on baseball there. Click at top. And
Yeah, look at
then
that.
scroll. See how far down I can go back. Yeah, obviously
All the way
it starts.
to 2006.
So it starts getting a little sparse the further
Sure.
back I go, but that's understandable. So I don't know. That's Otani stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I pulled some ridiculous Otani autos back in the day.
So, do you, when you list a new product, you manually put in? No. So how does that populate? Don't get into like anything too proprietary, but
Yeah. So
how does that populate?
I'll put it
for
this
us?
way. That's a very good question. We know that this year's 2023 Top Series 1. I'll bet $1 billion that there's going to be 2024 Top Series 1 and 2025 Top Series 1. So it's pretty given that I would go down that path to discover stuff. Now, when there are certain products that come out that are just weird, like what Panini had, like portraits or classics H2 or some Team All Asia hoops release, like I don't know those, so there's a little bit of there's some stuff that I can do to find out, hey, this stuff is listed somewhere, but we don't know what it is. You may have to manually intervene, right? And then you fix it once. I have a whole list of stuff. I fix it once, and then it's done, right? I try to keep everything simple, otherwise I won't be able to make TikToks all day and play golf and go to the batting cage every once in a while, right? And gawk over my UFC fighters that I see at Walmart. I'm a lazy guy. I have my little robots do a lot of work for me.
Is there anything else you want to show the people on the site?
I think it's. I mean,
It's very easy to use.
Right now, I think I'm happy at the stage that it is, and I work on it every day, and I just start adding little things. Most of the stuff you'll never notice. Like one of the biggest things right now was just the performance, because the usage has started to go up. In the last week, things have doubled, especially with the UPC scanner, because now all it takes is somebody to scan they go into their little cupboard and they start scanning everything. So traffic just doubles, triples from one person. So I need to work on performance and memory leak and memory usage and all the boring stuff that I don't want to do. I just want to make, cool buttons and stuff like that. And unfortunately, you got to take 2 steps back to go 1 step forwards. But
Sure.
I have a whole list of new features, and I'm going to start slowly releasing them. And Brad's my BFF, so he'll probably be one of the first people to know, because he'll want to test it out, and then he can shout it out.
Yeah, man. Yeah, anything I could do to help. I tried to stump it. I grabbed 3 different sports and Garbage Pail Kids with dust on it from 2021 that I don't even know how much I paid for it, because I thought it was 2022 and it's not. So I don't even know where to look in my Tops history to find it. That's gonna be who knows?
Bet I'm going to be taking sound bites from this one and reading.
And it found it. and found it. So I more so than anything, I really want to know what I paid for it.
These sapphires are wild, right?
Yeah.
And I've been very focused in on sapphire lately because people just always talk about sapphire.
No matter what it is, if it's sapphire, it's selling.
Yeah.
If it's sapphire, it's selling. People like it. I mean, my favorite refractor is an atomic refractor, and I mean that's what a sapphire card is. It's a blue atomic refractor. So I love it personally. They couldn't sapphire enough things for me. They are sapphiring everything though, and it doesn't worry me one bit. I mean, you were there. They're settling down products, so it's if they're gonna make bad products go away to make more good products, like. Is there such thing as too many good products? I don't think so.
I don't think so. I mean, they talked about. I see Keith's hat up there. I mean, they have products coming out for WBC. I don't know what they. I mean, maybe you can fill me in because I'm not too familiar with WBC products that are coming out.
I honestly don't know either.
I only saw small things on it. I haven't seen anything like in depth as far as how deep it's going to be, but like I was hoping they'd have it there, like at the park, because I'm going next weekend, so it'd be cool to like if they had cool stuff exclusive there, but I don't think it'll be done by then. But it's still a very big following. It's the Olympics of baseball, basically, so it's something that they could really sell that product easily, and it's everyone's favorite players. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean,
I'm just pumped. It's free high-level baseball in March. How do you? I mean, it's like watching all-star caliber baseball in spring training. I mean, but for baseball nerds,
the definition of high caliber with a 70 pitch count. That's
Oh yeah.
There's some really. I don't know what the rules are this year, but I know the pitch count has always been bugged. I mean, pitch count's always bugged me my entire life. I mean,
yeah.
It's 50 in the first round.
Is it really?
Yeah, so if you break 50 in the first round, you can't pitch again in the consolation, like in that round.
In the group play.
And then it jumps up 10 each time, and then in the finals and semifinals, I believe it's 90 is the high.
Right. So. Imagine Messi playing the World Cup and not being told to run too fast, right? Or you could play half a game, right? Like I'm not a soccer snob, but the World Cup is the de facto international event that baseball.
The problem is baseball will never let it happen like that because there's too much money in play for the individual clubs. You see it with like all these guys who are barely hurt and just precautionarily pulling out from the teams. Like Moreno pulled out of Team Mexico. Vladdy Jr. pulled out of the Dominican. He said he might come back though, so I didn't even know that was possible. But yeah, a few pitchers for Team USA have pulled out. You know, and that's the other thing too. There's not the same prestige that the World Cup carries, so they don't have that same national pride factoring into their decision of playing or not. I think is a big thing to do with it.
Not to go too far off tangent, I've always said.
Oh no, that's what we do here. That's what we do here.
So for men's basketball, they put it during the Summer Olympics, which is during their off season, right? Now, it's not out of this world to put baseball in the Winter Olympics, so that you have it in January, February, March, right? You're still going to have some pushback from Major League Baseball clubs, but to win an Olympic medal is, that's something that resonates with everybody, right? Every athlete out there, and I feel like the Winter Olympics is the right opportunity for baseball to be put on the worldwide stage.
I mean, they should just. How long are the Olympics?
2 weeks.
They should literally just pause the season in the summer and do it if they wanted to do it. The problem is there's so much money involved, right? The money factor is everything's a business. So Oh, that's a whole nother conversation. So it's tough. It would be really tough to do in the winter too, because you gotta convince guys to get off the couch when they're in their and some guys stay sharp. Now we do talk to a few people from time to time, and some guys do stay sharp all year long. Some of them live down in Arizona where the teams have facilities, or Florida where they have access to the facilities all off season. Like we saw it with Dante Bichette got fired from the Blue Jays so that he could hit with his kid during the lockout, so he could hit with Bo, because the team was not allowed to fraternize with the players during the lockout, so technically they weren't allowed to be together, even though they're blood relatives. It's one of the wild things when the business lines start coming into play. It gets tough, and I think that's what makes it tough for everything. I don't know how soccer gets around that, because soccer's so huge outside of the World Cup too. I mean, it's one of the most easily accessible sports in the world. You need a ball and 2 feet. I mean, you really don't need 2 feet to play. You need a foot. So no one's really discriminated against from just trying to go in their backyard and pretend they're messy, or like I went in my backyard and I threw the baseball up to myself and hit it like I was Ken Griffey Jr. and Sammy Sosa, and I did that. And then when I actually had the opportunity to play baseball for the first time, I didn't even know how to hold a bat. So the accessibility is a different type of way, and I don't know how soccer gets around it, because soccer has a ton of really high-level leagues, but yet they can all figure out a way to come together and do the World Cup. I mean, that's admittedly the only time I watch soccer. I'm not knocking the sport. It's not my thing. I'm a baseball nerd. I'm watching Dominican baseball in the winter. I'm anywhere they're playing baseball. I don't care what season it is here in the States. I'm trying to watch a baseball game. So even if I don't understand the commentary, I understand the game. So I'm gonna find a way to have a good time. I wish they could figure it out. That would be awesome. I don't know how. Soccer has it figured out though.
It's the billions of dollars involved, and I mean, I get it as a pitcher who's making $30+ million a year, $1 million per start.
Yeah, right? That's the thing.
Right? And I am not, and I'm getting paid $0 really to show off for a preseason tournament. It's hard to get me out of my silk pajamas in the morning, right? Because it's just not motivating. When my next contract is based off of me being able to get 200 innings pitched this year, get that sub-3 ERA, get that whip down, my motivations are somewhat different if I was that type of player, right? Now, you can get the second tier guys who are totally looking for exposure, but who's going to pay? Is ESPN going to pay for these second tier guys, or these prospects that aren't the household names, that aren't named J-Rod, or all these guys, right? Yeah. So it's this balance, right? Because that's really what we're getting. We got this tier 1.5 that's coming in, not a tier 1, not a tier 2, but it's like a tier 1.5. But from the hobby perspective, like, the player doesn't necessarily need to play WBC as long as they can take a picture in their home country's uniform, and they sign a card and cut up a patch that was game worn in a practice, and that's really what Topps. I would assume Topps would have the WBC license. So
yeah, I believe they're making a set. I don't know the details of the set, but I think they've even been teasing it. I'm interested because that what was it like, the 2016 Bowman Megas? Were those the ones with the Otani Japanese card? 16 or 17 Bowman Mega. They had WBC cards from the last one. There was a set, and again, hobby people are going to be screaming at me right now, but they have done it before. But this year they're going to give them some standalone cards, which is awesome. But they did that, and that was before Otani came over and signed, and it was still OTANI is how they spelled it on the card. And that box before, this was long before the hobby boom, just that was a $20 box. It was a Bowman Mega box, and again, I forget what year. I'm pretty sure it's 16 or 17. that box ended up being like $100+ after the WBC, after people started talking about, hey, there's this gigantic kid in Japan that can pitch and hit, and everybody's going, no way. And then they're like, does he have a card? Yeah, he's got a card, and everyone instantly, that box, even on eBay, even from private sellers, anybody who had that box anywhere, you weren't finding it. It was $100 box minimum, if not more, for a long time. And I bet if you looked it up now, it's probably a lot of money too. But yeah, that one particular card, it was so hard to pull too. It was just they had some insert sets from Team Japan or some of the WBC guys, and Otani was just happened to have fallen into that set from playing in the WBC and them getting a photo and all of that. So it's a really cool thing. Now we're gonna get a standalone set. It could be something to look into, because you don't know who the next international star is that's going to be on one of these teams in this tournament that's going to come over to the major leagues. There's going to be a handful of big leaguers coming over that we don't know yet that are going to introduce themselves in this tournament, and if we don't pay attention, we're going to miss the introduction. So that's another fun part of it. It's supposed to be spring training. Instead, we get to look at just world-class baseball. I love it. Even if it's not the absolute best, it's going to be really good.
It was 2017.
17 Bowman Mega,
and PSA 10 of it back in 2017 was like $125.
That's a ton of money. That was $8 grading back then from PSA.
They're still $900.
They're $900.
They're $900
for a PSA 10.
Mean, obviously, yeah. Like they peaked out at $1,500, but they're still $900.
It's a ton of money, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there autos on there? Is it just a straight base card?
A straight base card.
Just a base card, yeah.
It's like the Mega Box Fractor or whatever they call them.
The Mojo Refractor.
Refractor.
Is that, you said 17?
Yeah. It's him pitching.
Yeah, it has the WBC logo up in
the
corner.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Here it is. We found it. Here, I'll show you. Show Al real quick here.
Honestly. You share a screen?
Oh, whoops. Sorry. Yeah. I don't know what we're doing here. This guy. Yeah, the 2017 World Baseball Classic. Yeah, 2017 Bowman Chrome Mega Box.
It's Otani, Otani.
Yeah. That was his first US card. So he had some cards over in Japan, but this was like his first card in the States, and it was before they produced this, before he actually signed. So once he signed, people started looking, and they're like, "Oh crap, this card exists." Everybody had to have it.
So I don't remember the year when he signed with the Angel. When they
2018, coming into 2018, because that's like he signed. Everybody looked for that card, and then I remember, if I'm not mistaken, he only had 2 hits the entire spring training, and I remember being like, "This guy's never gonna make it."
Yeah.
And then, how wrong was I? Yeah. Oh my goodness! But I've always told people, you can't judge a book by its cover. You can't take it, because as spring training progressed in 18, there was already so many naysayers because there was so much hype. Like, listen, it's spring training. You don't know what the pitchers are working on. You don't know what the hitters are working on. There, for people that aren't huge baseball people, in spring training, a pitcher will go on the bump and say, "Hey, I'm only working on my fastball in like a specific quadrant. Like, we're not even gonna throw breaking balls this outing." But you don't know that if you don't really understand it. Like, spring training is spring training. It's practice. It's literally scrimmages. Guys are working on their game. They're not working on winning a game. They're working on getting themselves ready to win. So however they need to do that. And usually it's with pitchers. Sometimes the batters might be like, "Hey, I'm sitting dead red 4 fastballs because we think the pitcher's only going to throw fastballs," and then they might look extra silly on a breaking ball because that's how they were approaching that game that day. Like, there's so many little things in spring training, but Otani had a terrible spring, his first spring in the States. Just horrendous.
Even beyond that, he didn't really, till 21, just because, like, you kind of take him out of his comfort zone, right? He's used to pitching and playing every day. So when all of a sudden you're saying to him, oh, you know what, you can't bat when you're pitching. We're going to give you some extra days off and stuff like that. 21, his first year that he really gets the at bats, he hits 46 home runs. So I mean, they kind of jerked him around a little bit. So now it seems like he's in his comfort zone again. He's a lot more comfortable in the MLB, and I think we're going to see him be really productive for a long time, as long, barring injury, obviously, with any big name like that.
Let me ask you this: do you think there's another Ohtani? I'm not too familiar with like who's in the really early international prospects or in the low minor leagues. Are there any dual threat players of Ohtani with Ohtani ceiling capabilities?
I mean, I think that's where people are trying to position themselves in the future. But what's so wild about it, and not to get off topic, but I know plenty of dynamite, stud, killer baseball players that were turned away from big colleges because the big universities' refusal to let them be a two-way player. Like, we only want you for your bat, or we only want you for your arm, and then they go to smaller colleges because they want to play every day. And there was a great kid. He threw in the upper 90s from my area. He went to Indiana State and turned down other bigger D1 schools. Indiana State doesn't suck. Another guy, Sean Manea, he went to Indiana State as well from my area. He's throwing a no-hitter in the big league, so he's doing all right. But there you see that a lot where they never wanted you to. That was like it was such a taboo thing in baseball. Like, no, you're a hitter or you're a pitcher. You're not both. It's both things are too important. There's too much to know. How could you possibly do both? It's like the old school baseball mentality, I feel like. And now it's like, hey, can you do both? There's a pitcher in college. I forget the kid's name. He throws with both arms.
Yeah.
Not, this isn't Pat Venditti who barely did it. But this is the next level of that athlete. This kid throws 93 with his left hand and 97 with his right hand. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, these people, these genetic freaks are just coming through with all the new technology they have in sports and how well they can maximize what a human body can do. Ohtani's just the beginning, I think. I don't know how frequently you're going to get that talent, but I think Ohtani's just the surface, because Ohtani's not a 300 hitter. He's a terrific hitter and an amazing pitcher. The guy's just off the charts good. But someone's going to come along that can throw 100 with the sub-3 ERA, that can hit 40 home runs, and is going to hit 300 for a batting average. I mean, we've just seen it time and time again throughout history, throughout sports. People are always improving and getting better. The biggest example is, you can see the biggest change in, not to change sports, but it's MMA, simply because it's only 30 years old or so in a real, like, sanctioned atmosphere, and you can see how much it's changed from then till now. You only get a small sample size of that in baseball, but in the 90s, a good fastball was 96, 97. That was impressive. You watch old baseball movies where they show a radar gun and they show 96 like it's the greatest thing ever. Now you see some guys can hit 105, 106, and that's a span of 30 years. How did that happen? Now, Pav will tell you it's how they measure the... We just lost Pav. But Pav will tell you it's how they use the radar gun. But I don't know. But it's wild just to see in my lifetime what used to be wild performance versus what wild performance is now across everything. Like skateboarding, Tony Hawk did a 900 in the 90s, and now those guys are spinning around twice as much. For the first backflip on a dirt bike, now they can do triples. I mean, it's just how hard and how long are you going to push at the boundary? And then who's going to be the actual skillful guy that comes along and takes all of it? Ohtani's the guy right now. I mean, he's the most impressive human to ever play baseball. I mean, at the major league level, to be that good at both things is just nuts. Now, I have a problem Calling him the MVP. Sorry, unpopular opinion, because he's not the best hitter or pitcher, but he does both at such a high level. And I mean, he's top 10 at both things, I think. So you have to. It's incredible. I'm sorry to ramble. He's so good. He's so good.
I'm wondering if it's, well, I mean, let's look at Babe Ruth, right? Babe Ruth was an excellent pitcher and hitter, right? And then his pitching went, they hibernated it. They killed it off, right? Now, was he just, I mean, up until 2018, that really was the first good example of somebody that could pitch and hit at the highest level of the time, right? Now I'm wondering, is Ohtani just this once in 100-year, multiple generation type of player? Or, as you said, are there 5 or 6 of them that are about 12, 13, 14 years old right now that are going to be hitting the draft in about 5, 6, 7 years?
They're coming. They have to be coming. And I only say this for this reason. No disrespect to Babe Ruth or anyone from back then. I don't think Babe Ruth's the greatest player of all time. Whatever, blah, blah, blah. Babe Ruth played against white dudes, period. End of story, in a sport that was very early in its infancy. I'm not saying that he wasn't the best player of his time period, but in 2023, Shohei Ohtani flew here from Japan to a brand new country where he didn't know the language, the people, anything about the culture, comes over here, gets settled in, is absolutely decimating the best athletes on planet Earth. In 2023, in the late 1800s and early 1900s, they couldn't even do that type of travel to get access to even having the best athletes compete against each other, let alone all the other bullshit that we went through along that course of history. But now in 2023, the best players on planet Earth play against each other, period. Ohtani's here. Someone's coming. I mean, someone's coming. Someone is going to raise the bar. The bar keeps getting raised. I don't think you're going to see that guy pop up every year, but I think you're going to start seeing more guys that are bona fide two-way players, like that can pass at the big league level doing both. But I think we're going to see someone better than Ohtani. I don't know if it's going to be 5 years from now, but it's going to happen. He's exceptional, and he's the best example we've seen yet. He's Babe Ruth 7.0, in my opinion. I mean, that you can look at everything, even from his time in 2018 coming into the league. There's videos of him, like, if you really dig into the stuff. Hex bar deadlifts. So I don't know what anyone knows about weightlifting, but hex bar deadlifts aren't real deadlifts, but they are. So they're easier to do for a beginner. The dude was pulling 5 plates off the ground. Baseball players don't lift that type of weight. That's huge weight. That's 450 pounds plus whatever your bar weighs, usually 55, 65 pounds for a hex bar. So that's 500 pounds the guy's deadlifting. In the 2023, they had him on some bumper plates, so he's a little bit elevated, more of like a rack pull situation. Now he's pulling 6 plates. So the dude's getting stronger. That's the only reason I even say that. So just over the course of 4 years or so, he's been able to increase his deadlift somewhere in the 90-pound range, and it's on camera. So he's already as good as he is, and now his core and his whole body's getting stronger. He's going to be able to drive. The other night, while we were all sleeping here in the States, he was hitting a home run off his knee. He hit 2 home runs in an exhibition game. Yeah. One of my at-bats from spring training, I had posted on YouTube, got like 10,000 views overnight that had already been up there just because Ohtani became a hot topic at that time period. The dude's amazing. But someone's gonna come along. I mean, we're there now. There's no turning back. Like, baseball players aren't gonna get worse. And I really feel bad. I don't know the name of the kid, but I think he's a freshman in college. Throws like 93 left-handed, 97 right-handed. That's nuts too.
He's
so
a Mississippi State kid.
I think you're right.
Mississippi State.
That's absurd. So you're gonna start seeing that stuff too. So like Pat Venditti, yeah, he like led that charge, but he wasn't that great. Like, he got there, he made it to the big leagues, and really, more so than anything, he just upset the umpires and the batters to where they had to say, listen, you have to indicate what arm you're going to pitch with. Like, so because anytime the batter would go switch hitter, he'd switch hands, and then the batter would switch. It became this big dance. So then they had to establish some rules. I don't know what they'll do about it moving forward. But if this kid is that good, like if he can start, like at what point are we going to see a big league pitcher that can make 3 starts a week? That can pitch with his right arm on Monday, his left arm on Wednesday, and his right arm again on Saturday. I mean, when are we going to see that? Do you think we ever see that?
That's a good point. I didn't even think about that. Because
that guy, we talk about how pitchers are never going to get to 200 and 300 wins again because of how analytics play in the sport. But what about if we start getting these ambidextrous, legitimate pitchers? It's only a matter of time before humans get curious enough. Like we have the guy that can hit and the guy that can pitch. Well, this guy's like, I can pitch pretty good, but I can't hit. Maybe I could just pitch with both arms and never have to rest. Like,
is the other guy a starter or a reliever?
I don't know, Pav. I do not know.
So I think that's where like, I don't think we'll see those guys starting games because you have to, like so much of the truly talented people have natural talent as the basis.
Oh yeah,
whereas
all these guys. Don't be fooled.
When you're talking somebody that's ambidextrous throwing lefty and righty, one of those arms isn't based on talent. It's based on the work that they're putting in. So at some point, I think you're going to see those guys become relievers. I don't see them becoming long-term starters. And as far as like the next Ohtani, I think we're looking at maybe 50 years, 50 to 100 years before we see another guy like that.
No,
dude, you shake your head, but you got to think about.
I got to think about how the game of baseball has blown up more and more every year. More and more money gets put into it every year. Training, all that stuff. We now spend more time.
Why isn't there 100 guys that hit with a better exit velocity than Ohtani? If there's already 700, if there's 750 guys in Major League Baseball already, all right, and if Ohtani is, not. If there's other guys that are coming for Ohtani, then why isn't there already 50 guys that hit better than him? Okay, so those guys, they're not even focused on pitching. Why isn't there 50 of them that hit better than he does? So, and at that same point, his average fastball is, he's average fastball, we're looking at 97 miles an hour. Why isn't there 50 guys that throw harder than Ohtani?
There probably are.
They're definitely
not in Major League Baseball.
Oh, for sure. Relievers.
For sure
there's 50 relievers that throw harder than him.
In average fastball speed.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the chart. So just so you know, there isn't. There's not 50 guys.
I'm going with there is because I don't know where your chart came from.
Baseball Savant.
I don't care about Baseball Savant.
I know you don't care about statistics, but that's why we get.
I don't.
So like,
it's a possibility.
I don't see it because you're talking about people work. All of those Major League Baseball players work every day at perfecting their craft. Why isn't there 50 guys that throw harder than him? Why isn't there 50 guys that hit harder than him?
This is a recent thing in the United States. Summer league
Baseball
wasn't a thing until the 90s. You understand that, right? Like our fall leagues and stuff like that. Kids didn't play baseball year-round like they do now. Now they play legitimately year-round baseball. That's a new-ish thing when I was a kid. So, like...
When you were a kid, how old are you now? It's been around for 30 fucking years.
I'm still young.
People have been playing baseball year-round for 30 years plus.
Yeah, but they didn't have the same access that even... Well, I quit playing baseball, I'm 32, so 12 years ago, they didn't have travel. I mean, there was like a very select group of travel baseball. Like, I still played American Legion baseball. That was high-level baseball when I was in high school. Now, that's laughed at and probably non-existent. And then kids are playing 6U travel ball, and that's the dumbest thing on planet Earth. That's just money. I'm sorry. anything under like 10 years old, competitive travel sports is a fraud. I'm sorry, we're taking this a whole nother direction. That's so messed up. I only say that I was offered $5,000 to coach a 9U baseball team that I didn't even know existed. Like, how are you going to pay me for this? I was helping a friend coach their kids, and another person was like, "Hey, we like how you guys are running your practices. Would you be interested in, like, what is this?" Like, no, I'm there helping my friend for free because I want to teach kids baseball. I don't want your money so I can go have some parent yell at me that they don't have the right color sunglasses or something silly. They're 8 years old. They need to learn how to play baseball. They need to have fun with baseball. They don't need to be put under the pressure of, "Hey, Timmy, we just paid $2,000 for your tournament, so you better not strike out this weekend because I want to live vicariously through you at the age of 8. Sorry. Parents are wild. Parents are the worst thing about youth sports. I hope you all know that, parents. I love you guys, but it's true. Sorry, that's the underground runaround, folks. This is what we do here. But Otani, Pav says 50 years. So, Keith, what do you think?
I could see like 20-ish or anything.
I don't even think it's going to be that long.
It could be shorter.
There's going to be regularly
I'd love
playing
to do a long-term bet with you guys.
There will be regular two-way players in the next 10 years. I mean, if not one on every team.
Not a chance.
100%.
No.
There's plenty of them in the minor leagues now. You have Schwellenbach, who was just drafted out of Nebraska, 2 years ago? Brendan McKay, who's failing at being both.
If they're in the minors, they have to make it to the majors.
Did you not hear what I said?
800 players.
Keith, tell him what I said. Keith, ask him to listen.
This is. I'm not even gonna argue.
All right, Pav. There you go, sir. Sorry, Al, we had to mute Pav. What's up?
Reggie Crawford.
Giants.
Giants drafted him.
Yes.
Left-handed
Yeah,
pitcher.
Reggie Crawford.
First baseman, left-handed pitcher. I don't know anything beyond the fact that he can do both. And
Yep.
There's a lot of those guys in the minors that we hear about, and unless like Brendan McKay is the only other example next to Otani that's made it to the big leagues, and it was not for his bat. His arm for the Rays got him to the big leagues before his bat was even ready, and then he blew his arm out, and we haven't seen much from him since. So, I mean, you didn't even see these guys 10 years ago, and now you're starting to see them. And now it's only a time period before they iron out those kinks, and now there's going to be one on every team. I think it's happening, whether Pav wants it or not, and he wants to make a bet with us, so we'll do that later. Pav, you're unmuted now. But yeah, I personally, I think it's coming. Keith seems to be in the middle, and Pav says never again. 50
Reggie
years.
Crawford hit 150 in rookie ball.
Let's
see how long they let him swing a bat, and when you're getting paid for it. Those guys aren't paid in college, right?
Yeah,
so
they are.
Like,
NIL.
I'm saying, the team, the school doesn't invest in those guys other than a scholarship, right? So like,
my scholarship bought me a
all
truck.
Of a sudden, you're being paid to play every day. Those teams aren't going to waste money investing in you if you're going to hit 150. They're going to be like, okay, can you keep your ERA under 3? Because we're going to focus on that. And that's what happens to all of those guys. So the fact that you say they haven't existed before, they have. You just never heard about them because they never make it to the pros. They never make it there. So like Otani making it there, that you guys can argue about this stuff. That's cool. I get it. But someday you'll understand.
50 years from now, I'm going to be sitting on a rocking chair on the front porch going, Pav was wrong again.
Right about Julio.
He was, though. Pav was so right about Julio. Pav, so last year, Allan, just for reference, to bring you into our world a little bit, we talk baseball. We do predictions, all of those things. Yeah. Pav came out with this bold statement before they even said J-Rod was going to make the big league team. Not only did he say, J-Rod was going to have a better year than Wander Franco last year. He said he was going to win the Rookie of the Year, not even knowing that the guy was going to break camp. So Pav Stradamus down there apparently knows something sometimes,
Just
and
not
we
do it.
we can't discredit him all the time, as much as I would love to.
Yeah.
But
All you gotta
no,
be is
he's
the right one.
he knows things.
Just find me the stats where these guys throw harder than Otani, and I'll believe you.
I don't like stats.
They don't
but-
exist. That's why.
But you're
you don't
talking-
like them, 'cause they don't exist.
You're talking about average. I don't know how they track this
Average
data. Are we talking like a difference of like? I guarantee you, there's 50 big league pitchers within 1 mile per hour of him. Like, and 1 mile per hour is negligible when you're talking about 100 miles an hour. You're within 1% of velocity. So that's where my argument is. Without looking at your stupid stats, I can tell you that there's 50 people that throw within a percentage of Shohei Ohtani, without a shadow of a doubt in my mind. We're in 2023. Every team has a reliever that throws 98 plus. Every single one of them, if not 5 or 7 or the whole bullpen. If you're the Dodgers or somebody,
Well, I mean, you can rear back and rip your arm in half and throw 100 miles an hour.
Exactly.
It's average fastball speed. A minimum 50 pitches.
see, that's where your data's fucked up because relievers don't get included in that. 50 pitches total or per
Total.
start?
50 pitches total for the whole fucking year.
Whoa, not having
Here we
it.
go.
Within
Here
a
we go.
percent. Going within 1%.
I'm just
Let
saying.
me ask
Go
you
ahead,
this.
Al. Sorry, dude.
No.
ahead.
I enjoy this conversation. I love baseball. I mean, probably not as much as you guys do. I love the baseball card back, right? Like I understand
Yes.
Moneyball and everything like that. Like I love that. I love arbitration. I love Super Twos and stuff like that, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like, do you think the best athletes are going to be continuing, or will the best athletes in at least America, or maybe the world, will they choose baseball over something else, or will we start seeing more Kyler Murrays? Will we start seeing more Russell Wilsons? Like, because I feel like that's the limitation there, and I feel like that's why soccer isn't great in America.
No, you have a point. You're onto
That is a
something
good
there.
point.
I don't know if I have an answer for you. I do know, like, the last big example of that was a kid named Jay Allen. He's a Reds prospect, and he chose baseball straight out of high school. But I think that was because he was drafted straight out of high school. He was a two-sport college commit, and when the Reds called on draft day, he decided to sign. But I don't know how many examples of that we see the other way, where they go play a different sport. Like from my area back in the day, actually one town to the south, he went to Notre Dame. His name was Jeff Samardzija. He was a
Samardzija.
All-American
Yeah.
football receiver, and he was not a good pitcher in college. He really wasn't. He threw hard. He threw 98 or so, and it had a elevated collegiate ERA. It wasn't that great, but he just had the stuff. He was an all-American football receiver and chose the baseball path, and it worked out amazingly for him. Nobody's ever going to
Guaranteed him a contract.
remember that guy 20, 30 years from now. No disrespect to him, but he had a long major league career, played longer than he would have played football, even if he played football at a high level, just for the lifespan. So I think if athletes have their head on correctly, I think they will understand that they have a longer lifespan athletically in baseball. I think that's just a fact. So maybe that persuades them to go that route. But I don't know the answer to that question. That's a great question, because I don't know how many. Like, how do you determine who the best athletes are, period? And then how do you determine, like, who picked, like, there's so many things to factor in there. Like,
I think
how many football
injury-
guys did you lose to baseball this year? How many baseball guys did you lose to football? How many, like, is there a big board of, like, prep athletes, like, for, like, not sport specific? Like, this is the best 100 athletes in the country, and these are the sports they play.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's what we need to know before we know, like, hey, we had this guy, this was ESPN's prep 5th overall athlete in the country, and he chose wrestling at Minnesota. Like, how do we do that? Like, this guy's gonna go play.
Just
Yes.
for this, like, measure
The prep high school combine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
Hey,
goodness,
get a guy
we're
and a
on to
girl.
something, boys.
Yeah, see, I got it.
Everyone,
Right down the
yes.
street from you.
It'll be just any university you want. Come recruit athletes. We just have athletes. If you want to teach them a sport, we're going to bring you the most raw athletes you could find. Just nothing but athleticism here in the country. They might tell you what sport they like, and you might tell them what sport they're going to play when you pay them $1 million in NIL money. I mean, this is what they could literally do things like this now, and that's wild. They could influence you in high school and say, hey, come out to this open workout. Let's see what if you can put up these type of if they have their chart, sports specific chart. We want to see this, this, and this out of an athlete, and we could teach them the rest. Like, who knows? Pav, what do you think? He's
Baseball's like the funniest for that, though, right?
there's a lot of non-athletic
Because of
baseball
pitchers,
people.
right?
Yep.
Guys like fucking Greg Maddux and Randy Johnson. Like, I guess they make good golfers, but can you call that an athlete?
We were down at spring training, and that Angels White Sox game we went to, I know this to be true, but I don't know. I don't know how much I'm supposed to speak about it. We got our tickets from Mike Trout. I don't know Mike Trout. I didn't have the connection to Mike Trout, but I was there with the guy that had the connection to Mike Trout and the other guy. I have a video. I actually had to cut it out. I didn't want to post it on my clip. They were talking about it, but we got the tickets from Trout. I forget why I even brought this up, but we went to the Angels game. Pav, what were you talking about?
Athletes, pitchers, not being them.
Oh yeah. Okay, so there we are.
I always won every episode.
Every episode I do that. I have terrible short-term memory. The guy that got us the tickets is apparently Trout's golf instructor. So he was telling us, he was talking about other baseball players that he did golf with, and he said he goes, you wouldn't believe how many unathletic baseball players there are. Like guys that just can't swing a golf club at all, but they're these world-class baseball players, and I think that is an anomaly. I think it's very picturesque. Like some people are just born to throw a ball. I don't know how to explain that.
I grew up in the 70s and 80s and 90s, right? Like half those guys could barely run down the base, right? Like these pitchers did not work out at all, right? But they can throw gas, or they can paint those corners, right? I remember Rick Russell from the Giants. That guy was like 300 pounds. Good Lord, but he was our ace, right? Yeah. He started that '89 All-Star game in
what was
Anaheim.
He was like 6'8" or something, right?
Maybe not that. I mean, his name was Big Daddy, right? He was a big boy.
I think
right?
He was like fucking 6'8". He pitched for the Cubs for a little bit too.
Yeah. What's the other guy's name that just retired? The one that jacked one against the Padres and with the Mets. It's in my name.
No, Rick
Big
Russell
guy.
wasn't who I was thinking of in terms of that tall. Who was the tall motherfucker?
Big guy for the Mets. Bartolo Colon.
Bartolo Colon.
Yeah.
Right? Like I mean, his baseball card probably says 240. I think he was 240 like 20 years ago, right?
Yeah, definitely.
He's a massive dude, but he can throw gas. He paints the corners, and that's all
And he
the
could
talent.
Hey, time out. Pav, are you really telling me we had a fastball argument over the guy who has the 39th hardest fastball in baseball? I said 50. We're talking about 0.3 miles an hour difference with me having no information available in front of my face. That's how off we were. I said 50 people.
I said there's not 50 people that throw harder than him.
There's 38. There's 38, and there's 12 more within 0.3 miles per hour, and I had no data in front of my face. So I feel great having that argument with you, and I will die on that hill every time. So if you're gonna win with data in front of your face and 0.3 mile, what's 0.3 of 97.3? That's like such a small. If I was within a tolerance, you wouldn't even believe. It's wild. Yeah, my calculator doesn't even want to do it. I don't know what we're doing right now.
We're proving Pat wrong.
Oh man, it's wild. This guy knew it.
What? I didn't say anything
And
that's
talking
not
about
true.
specimen
I said
pictures.
there's not.
But you made me
but
feel like I was
there's not-
way wrong, and I was really, really close.
There's not 50 pitchers that throw harder than Ohtani in Major League Baseball. In the highest level of baseball in the world that anybody can play for, right? There's no other fucking countries that have a league. It's not like soccer where you got fucking La Liga and Premier League and all these different leagues.
0.3% blind.
There's
I'm
MLB,
happy with it. I'm
and
happy with it.
Ohtani is
Keith, what do you think?
40.
That's pretty good. That's pretty close.
I'm not even. I'm going in 7 years when the new Otani comes up.
Ooh.
I'm gonna call up Pav and I'm gonna just. Told you.
You
so,
can.
Jack.
You can. I will
I
not
will.
be waiting by my phone.
Said I will not.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
I will not be waiting by
I
my
think
phone.
You guys are dreaming. You're like dreaming of these players.
You think this guy is like the most untouchable thing in the world? Pav, he's not even the best at what he does. Okay, he's not even the best at what he does. He's a very, very good ball player, the best overall baseball player in the world. But guess what? It's going to happen again. For you to say it's not, with more training, more time, more everything.
You guys are wild, man.
We are wild.
Like, tell me, how many players in the last 50 years would you put in the same category?
You can't talk about the last 50 years.
The last 50 years that you've experienced, okay? How many do you put in the same category as Trout?
I've only experienced 33 years on this earth, and I can't remember the first 7. So I don't know what you want me to do with that.
So here, I'm going to follow up with that. I got 32. We're going to take 7. That's 25. Trout's been around for 12. 12 out of 25. Half of my life of remembering is my Trout being a stud at big league baseball.
Trout's best.
Trout's pretty good.
But I'm saying, if there's going to be another Ohtani in the next 10 years, why haven't you seen 2 Trouts?
Don't worry
Trout
about
only
that.
hits. He only hits. He doesn't even pitch.
You're worried about,
two?
but you're focused on making your future predictions based on the past when we're making our future predictions based on all this advancement in science and technology and the limits of the human body.
I really relate it back to what Brad said about UFC. I've seen that what happens in a sport when it grows to a crazy level like that did. I used to make fun of the way that guys used to fight on the early UFCs, the 10s, 20s, and 30s. It was a joke compared to what it is now. Now, you make one little mistake and you're going the lights out. Back then, you could make tons of mistakes.
Oh, reckless. Like almost like barroom brawling.
Tank
Abbott was great.
The guy would just go nuts. You know what I mean? He would go nuts.
No technique, just all brute force.
None. Now you move your shoulder the wrong way. That's coming off. You know what I mean? Like,
it's coming off.
Baseball's a little different because it's been around.
Yeah, nobody's arm's coming off in baseball unless you throw too hard. Snap that curveball one too many times. Big Al, dude. Anything else you want to talk about this evening?
No, I think I'm enjoying the playful banter here. I think.
Oh yeah, this is we have a ton of fun. This is what we do. None of this is serious. I'll go hug that guy. I'll drive 80 miles and hug this dude when we wrap up here. But this is the whole premise of what we do here is we're completely independent. We're 100% self-funded. We want to help people if we can. We want to tell people facts. I don't want to sit here and tell you to do this because I think so. So we also we have an intern from the West Coast. He's a college kid. He's at the University of Oregon now. Kenny. He's our intern. He's the unpaid intern. It's a joke. He actually does remote work for me. He's a hell of a go-getter. He's a huge Giants fan too. He's from the San Francisco area. But that kid, I wanted him on the podcast because I wanted West Coast represented. Keith's on the East Coast. We got me and Pav in the middle, and I don't want us to all I've never wanted to be in a circle with people that all say, "Yeah, Brad, that's right." No, I want everybody. If we can all fight about it, and everybody's not trying to kill each other.
Perspectives.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's got a different point of view. It's a beautiful thing. It's like the hobby, man. Everybody's got a different way to look at it. I don't have to be right. I don't have to agree with you, and we can still be friends. It's something that I don't know if it seems like it's a rare trait, but I love it. Like why do we have to hate each other because we disagree? Because I think Pav's an idiot, and we're not gonna. And it's gonna be 50 years before we see another Ohtani. There's no way that that's happening. But Pav thinks that, and I'm okay with it. Pav, I love you, and you're probably right. But I have to stay on my viewpoint now, even after the facts you have presented in your argument. I don't want to talk about it anymore. But that's why we have these conversations, and that's what's good about it. So,
I think you guys should come. I mean, one, Brad, you definitely need to come out to Vegas in 3 weeks. 3 weeks
Yes.
from tomorrow.
the Mint.
Pav, Keith, you guys should come out to the Mint, and we can do an underground runaround live broadcast from the Mint.
So
We can do
cool.
it.
The Mint.
We can do it. We can. Do
I'm
it
game.
by-
I plan on being out there. My wife wants to go to Vegas, so I mean, if I get to go to the card show out of that, then
I
win,
really
too.
use a vacation, but God, I don't know
Well,
what Ken's gonna fucking think of that.
we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out afterwards. But anyway, Al, you got anything else, brother? Let's wrap this thing up.
No, I first of all, I'm very honored, very blessed, very thankful for being able to share everything with you guys. I enjoy the company of Brad. I enjoy you, man. We hung out at the Tops. We didn't hang out as much as I'd like to, but we're gonna hang out in a couple of weeks, and we're gonna do some TikToks and some dances and some stuff like that.
I don't dance, but we could TikTok.
Yes, you will. Yes, you will.
Keith didn't miss it. He's like, he perked right up when he heard that. Oh man, who knows? Who knows? But yeah, Al, dude,
That's all I
pleasure to meet you. Thanks for having you. Thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for explaining to us what Waxstat is, because now I'm stuck on that now.
This is truly.
It passed the barcode test. I'm good.
It's truly a game changer for.
Keith, how are you going to compliment us and cut out at the same time, bud? This is
Yeah,
terrible.
that's
It's
down,
truly a. Look at this guy. He's trying to compliment you, and he's gone. It's unbelievable.
That was my
Yeah.
soundbite that I had.
The internet went out. I was compliment. Yeah.
So do that one more time.
Great app.
Oh, great app.
No, it's just. This is the first time I've seen something like this, and to me, like when you start digging into this is something that.
Oh man, thanks a bunch, everybody. Have a great night. We'll